Hey there folks. So in previous videos we've been looking at getting our own player character in. They can move around, they can jump up and down and we can look. But obviously they're just standing in their like default T pose, which is a little bit static and a little bit boring. So what we want to do now is look at how can we get some animations onto our character. So when we're moving around, when we're jumping, they're actually playing animations. Now the first step, what we'd think to do is probably going to have a look for some animations. Now I've gone to add and I've added a feature or content pack and I've added in the third person stuff just so I've got that in project. And if you follow the folders for that, you'll go characters, you've got UE4 and UE5. And if you go in the UE5 one, we've got an animations folder here. And inside here, there's all the Manny animations. Now it would be great if I could just take one of these and apply them onto my character, any of these Synty characters that I've got here, but I can't do that. And the reason I can't do that is because if I open up one of these and then start having a look at this, what you'll see is these actually have a set skeleton that they use. So these are all using the sk_mannequin. So I can go search for that and you can see all of these skeletal meshes here. So Manny, Manny Simple, Quinn and Quinn Simple, they all use this skeleton. And all of the animations for Manny and all the animations for Quinn are all retargeted to use that skeleton as well. Now that means that anything that we have which uses any other skeleton, so if I go and just search for all the skeletal meshes we have in our project, any of these here that are these skeletal mesh from the Synty packs, none of these will be able to use the exact same skeleton. And the reason for that is if we have a look at these, so I'm just going to have a look at, I've got this dummy male here. And if we have a look at Manny Simple and maybe to put them next to each other just for one moment, what we can see is that the actual skeleton structure itself is different. So look at that, we've got 5 spine bones there. But if we go here, this is the Synty one, we've only got 3 spine bones. So obviously those animations aren't going to work from one to the other. Now in this video, what we're going to have a look at is how to do this in an automated way. Now Unreal 5.4 has some automated tools that allow us to just take animations from one skeleton and put them onto the other. In a future video, we're going to have a look at how to manually set up our own retargeters, but for now we'll just look at how to do the automatic process. Okay, so to get started, what I've done here is I've found the UE5 Manny animations, and you can see they're inside of this mannequins animations Manny folder here. And if I right click on one of those, such as this idle, I right click on it, you can see we've got a bunch of options for creating new assets from this animation. We have got an option for replace skeleton, but that's not going to be very successful for us because obviously, as we've seen, the names don't match up, the structures of the skeleton don't match up. So when that's the case, what we need to do is we need to look at retargeting. So we're going to actually map this animation here onto a different skeleton instead. And you can see here, we can actually do that on sequences. So the animation sequences we can see here, as well as blend spaces, montages, and a whole animation blueprint. So if you've got a whole character that's been set up, potentially like the third person stuff that's inside of the Unreal Starter projects, you could potentially just retarget the whole thing over onto a different character, such as a Mixamo character or a Synty character. So I'm going to click on that retarget. And the first thing we'll see here is we'll probably see Quinn or Manny, and they represent this source skeletal mesh. So that's the actual skeletal mesh that these animations are coming from. So you can see I can change it, I can test out different ones. The target skeletal mesh is the one that I want this to go to. So you can see I can pick any of these Synty ones. I can retarget from Manny to Quinn, but there'll be no point because obviously they're using the same skeleton anyway. So let's go to this dummy male, and what I should see is they now appear alongside each other. Okay, so that's the source and that's the target sorted. And you can see they are completely working here. The next option we've got here is this retargeter. Now, if we haven't done any retargeting before for this one, between this direction of these animations going to this one, so source going to target, what we can do then is we can auto-generate the retargeter. So if this is true, what it's going to do is it's going to create a retarget asset for us. Now, if we already had done some retargeting, potentially we've already made ourselves, you can see here, we've already made ourselves a retargeter. And in a future video, I'll look at how to actually create one of these retargeters with you. So if you've already made one, you could just reuse that one that's already existing as much as you need, rather than having to keep on manually doing it or auto-generating it. So I'm going to leave it on the auto-generate. And down here now we can see a list of all the animations that are available on this source skeleton. And I can actually double click on these to test them out, and you can see this is what they're going to look like when they're retargeted over onto this Synty character. So you can see here, test out the idle, test out the fall. And what you want to do is just have a little bit of a look around, make sure that there's nothing heinous going on with any of the joints, that the arms all exist where they should, that the legs exist where they should. And for the most part, for these generic kind of skeletons, bipedal skeletons, it does tend to be okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take those animations that we know were all on the Manny skeleton, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to export those animations. So you can see here, I can now choose if I want where they should go. We've also got the option to actually export the retarget assets as well. So you can see I can choose where they're going to go. And let's just put them into a new folder. So we'll call these Synty anims just for now. And I can choose to go into there. And the first thing this creates here is this auto-generated retargeter and the individual IK rigs for each of those. So if we just go back over to the actual characters and the animations now, and just look to do that again, here we go. So just to show you that you can do this, if we go and say, okay, well, I don't really mind which one this one's on, but we now go from here back to dummy, we can choose, instead of using that one, we can choose to use the auto-generated one we already have. And you can see that there are already retargeters in here because we have a Manny UE5 version to retarget to UE4, a UE4 through to UE5, and ones that go between the different mannequins. And they're just really useful to have because if you're getting any animation packs from the marketplace, one of the things that you will see in the list of kind of prerequisites for those is, are they actually compatible with the UE4 or the UE5 Manny? So I'm going to tick this one here, and you can see now I'm using a previously made one. So I'm actually saving myself a little bit of time by not having to auto them. And now I can go export animations. Let's put them into the exact same folder we were just looking at. Useful one here is I could put a Synty maybe prefix on here just so that I know that these are the different versions, or I could go through and I could replace some of the naming, so I could, you know, search and find and replace things. But for now, we'll just go through. I don't want to override the existing animations. I'll still keep those as a reference, and we will export them. And now what you can see here is in that folder, I now have a whole bunch of animations. And if I just maximize those and have a look, you can see they're pretty good. And over on the left-hand side here, you can see that they are using the Synty skeleton. Okay, so that is how we take existing animations and we retarget them onto a different skeleton that doesn't exist. And for the most part, as of 5.4, Unreal's very good at taking some of the very generic ones. So things like Mixamo, the UE4 and UE5 mannequins, some of the mocap kind of data packs as well. It should be fine to take those, and you can see we even get things like here with the notifies for the footsteps on these. So it does take a whole lot of data from one to the other. The other thing to point out that it actually brings through as well is if I go in here, and we'll look at retargeters a little bit more in a different video, but if I go and take this target mesh and just move it over to the side, you should be able to see that it's actually here with the source and the target. It's actually created a lot of these IK systems for us as well. So you can see there, it's created that IK for us. The whole lot of useful stuff being done automatically for us by Unreal. And that means that now we've got a whole library of animations that we can actually take, and we can apply these in a future video to making our own animation blueprints for that character. So they, when they walk around, they jump and they fall, they use proper animations. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to access more of my Unreal Engine content.